What an honor to be here. I want to thank Hakim and his colleagues to put this together and for inviting me to share some of my research today. So it's a great honor to be here, truly. In this talk, we'll explore three questions. Is science useful? Does it make sense? And does it reveal the true nature of the cosmos and ourselves? Let me begin by introduce how I got into exploring these questions. I was born and grew up in China. I came to the UK in 1980s as a student. I studied material science and earned a PhD from Cambridge University. For many years after that, I lived my childhood dream as a scientist, researching new materials, metals, ceramics, semiconductors, to solve real-world problems. It was a fulfilling work grounded in the physical world. But then an unexpected encounter opened up a new perspective for me. In the early 2000s, during a business trip in China, a painful wisdom tooth led me to an unconditional dentist. Some might call him a witch doctor. To my amazement, he removed my tooth effortlessly, without anesthesia. Afterwards, I asked him, how did you manage to do that? He casually claimed he's got an incantation that loosens patients' teeth, enabling effortless and painless removal of teeth. True or not, that moment ignited my curiosity about the unexplained. I then drove into paranormal research. Through fieldwork, I witnessed many extraordinary abilities. What I have learned in the last 2.5 decades is that science aren't only a range of fascinating phenomena, but also they have many real-world applications, such as in medical, agricultural, resource exploration, disaster forecast, and education. Let me go through some use cases. If we look back in history, we will find that traditional Chinese medicine deploys psi extensively. Legendary historical Chinese medicine men were all psi practitioners. They used their psi ability to diagnose people, to remove tumor, and discover medical properties for plants, herbs. I used to think those were just fictional stories until I witnessed myself many living psi practitioners are still performing those real magics today. Sun Chuling is one of the stars in psi circle in China. She has demonstrated many psi abilities. One of these is to manifest medicine in her hands. I actually took this video myself during a teaching session. She was teaching kids. She also demonstrated the ability to transform ordinary substance into medicine. In this case, a bottle of water was transformed into a herbal medicine. This is the case where a group of Qigong practitioners performing tumor elimination. A bladder tumor is displayed on the ultrasonic scan on the left. So you will see that the under the intention of this group of Sai practitioners. Those group of practitioners, they're chanting together some simple prompts like dissolve, disperse, be gone. You will see within 1 minute, the tumor shrinks and eventually disappears on the right. In the heydays of Sai research in China, and also the Qigong movement in the 90s, there are many Qigong hospitals. They use non-medical means, energy healing, to do things like this. You can see that on the right, it's completely gone within 1 minute. The power of mind can have a huge impact, not only on our human body, but also other biological systems. For example, beans can sprout in minutes in Su's hands. And this phenomenon has been exploited in large-scale agriculture. Some farmers in China have been using the power of minds to boost the yields of rice fields. During their daily online group Qigong practice sessions, they collectively send intention to some specific location of rice fields. The part of rice fields that have received Sai intervention on the left side of the road has shown shortened growth cycle and higher yields compared with the control on the right. And the rice also tastes much better, much tasty rice. And, this is ginseng fields. Ginseng is a Chinese medicine, and with the intervention of Qigong, which is intentional Sai energy, the potence of this medicine increased dramatically. Sai ability has also been used in resource exploration. Zhu Ming is a perceptualist who specializes detecting underground mines. She used automatic writing to locate mines on a map. She didn't even need to go to the site. She just, it's like a remote viewing, but on a map. She's able to just use the automatic writing, not the writing, but circling to pin down the location of precious metal or oil. Yeah, some commercial mine enterprise has been working with her to confirm some mines and to discover new mines with a significant commercial return. Lily is another perceptualist who specializes earthquake forecast. She has been publishing her predictions on her social media channel. She uses particular methodology that involves the 3 levels of information gathering through smell, visual, and mind vision. Since the social media records cannot be changed, it's very easy to check her forecast. Our analysis reveals that her prediction is not 100%, but it's definitely not just random guessing. The forecast is not only for China, it's for the global, so if you're interested, you can follow her as well. Of course, another major application of Sai is education. Many parents in China send their children to Sai training schools with the aim to boosting their learning ability. Sai training now is kind of extracurricular activity for the school kids in China. Our conservative estimate is over probably 200,000. The training usually starts with blind color recognition. And then they move on to the blind picture recognition. And then it's the blind reading of text. I used to wonder what's the point of blind reading when they can just read with their physical eyes. Then I realized that the blind reading is a much high quality reading. Using their mind vision instead of physical eye vision, kids can absorb contents of books with amazing speed. They can just flip over. All the content are memorized. Also, the content of the book can be stored as photographic memory. And this is a major television interview. The host just asked the kids to recite a random page she selected from the book. And this kid is not reciting, but it's reading backwards. Reading backwards means it's photographic memory. Once they develop the mind vision, the children can be trained to access non-physical calculators. So in this case, they can just key in the math problems, and they get a display of the answer from this non-physical calculator. In this training session, the trainer uses the pack of cards to randomize the numbers. So in this case, it's 20-digit numbers to the root power of 10 random digit numbers. With further training, kids can access more advanced non-physical intelligence system. So in this video clip, the kid is reading out a fictional story, but the book she's reading only contains blank pages. This is achieved by accessing and giving prompt to a non-physical ChatGPT-like intelligence system. And output of the intelligence system is projected onto the blank page she's reading. So this is true high technology. So our ChatGPT, our physical computer AI system, is actually a poor imitation of this divine technology. And such practice can also be used to display images on many other surfaces, such as on a wall, on a blank piece of paper, on crystal, or even on the palm of hands. And this side practice is being used to gather a wide range of information, including the location of missing person, animal, or objects. So again, just give the prompt. Side training is also applied to top martial artists to alter time perception. In Kung Fu, we say that all Kung Fu under heaven can be broken by speed. So the top martial artists don't really rely on strength or the power. They rely on the speed. And the speed is achieved by entering into altered state of consciousness, where the clock changes, basically the perception time changes. In that case, the opponent's movement is basically a slow motion for them, or even frozen. So they cannot be beaten if that's the case. These are only a small selection of cases I gathered during my 2.5 decades Psi investigation. This investigation have been both fascinating and frustrating. Fascinating because they feel like real magic, opening my mind to impossible. Frustrating because they define the materialist worldview I built my career on. So for many years, I wrestled with the intellectual itch, trying to explain the unexplainable. Then I learned to let go. I have to give up the materialist scientific paradigm. And I started to listen to the Psi practitioners describing access alternative reality that enable those phenomena. So I think the prerequisite for this to happen is actually the access to alternative reality, not this physical. For example, Sung's autobiography is titled "The Part of the Cosmos I Perceive." From reading her book and having deep conversation with her and the many Psi practitioners, I learned that physical reality is not everything that exists. There are worlds beyond the physical that can impact the physical world in ways that cannot be grasped by materialist scientific paradigm. I was then forced to look for alternative philosophy that can accommodate both material reality and transcendent reality. This led me to Plato. Plato is one of the most enlightened thought leaders in human history. Whitehead once commented, "The safest general characterization of European philosophical tradition is that it consists of a series of footnotes to Plato." According to Plato, beyond this physical world, there exists realm of forms. Abstract entities exist in the realm of forms, which operate as the fundamental reality. Material objects in the physical reality resemble those perfect abstract forms to varying degrees. The realm of forms are also fundamental. They are more real, more perfect than their shadows in the material realm. For every material existence, there is a corresponding form. Every physical dog is an imperfect copy of the perfect dogness. And every apple is a low-fidelity imitation of appleness. Now let us extend the principle one step further. If every physical object have ideal form, then what about computers? A silicon computer made of hardware could be seen as a low-fidelity implementation of a more fundamental, abstract computational structure. We call this the Platonic computer. Here is the central hypothesis. The Platonic computer, existing in the realm of forms, acts as a rendering engine of the physical reality. In other words, just as the game engine renders virtual world, the Platonic computer renders space, time, and content in space. Although we cannot access Platonic computer in our normal state of consciousness, we can access its shadow. By manipulating the material computer, we can simulate the working of the Platonic computer. In this model, the Platonic computer is made by, with, of, and from meta-consciousness. Essentially, meta-consciousness digitalizes itself, so it becomes computable. An output of this computational system is time, space, and contents in a space. According to PCM, the cosmos is a multiverse with multiple nested parallel universes. Each successive universe operating at a distinctive vibration frequency corresponding to its computational clock speed. This can be likened to the situation where there's multiple radio and TV station signals coexist in the same space. And the physical universe is only one of many channels of the TV program. According to this perspective, UFO is entity in another parallel universe, and they vibrate at different frequency. So normally, it's not visible to us. But when they tune that default frequency into our frequency, they become visible to us. So when they kind of tune back to that default frequency, they don't disappear. The observer of multiverse is our nested self that exists across all levels of the multiverse. In this model, virtual reality environment is a parallel universe nested in a material universe. A human player can adopt an avatar in a video game by layering digital traits such as a football player. Likewise, the physical universe is a parallel universe nested in a higher order transcendent universe. Our higher self can adopt a physical embodiment by layering physical attributes, like this physical body. So basically, when we come down to this reality, we wear this physical body. And when we go further down to the next level of reality, virtual reality, we take on another layer of body, which is a digital body. When we are in altered state consciousness, the higher self observes the higher order transcendent universe using our mind eye, also called third eye. When we descend into the material world, we put in a material body and observe this physical reality using our physical eyes. When we descend further into the virtual world, we put on another layer of digital body and observe the virtual world using VR goggles. Descending from the higher order to lower order parallel universes, our true nature of love, authenticity, virtue, beauty, expansiveness, wisdom, creativity, freedom gets covered up by layer upon layer of ignorance and limitations. At the higher order parallel universes, experiences of transcendent reality in altered states consciousness often report that reality they experience in near-death states, deeper meditation state, psychedelic state, or lucid dreaming state are more real than the physical reality. When a nested parallel universe is built, the fidelity of the lower order parallel universe decreases. For example, a Minecraft enthusiast can build a computer using only pixels within the virtual environment. And that virtual computer can then render a nested Minecraft within the Minecraft. However, the nested Minecraft will have much lower fidelity with much coarse pixels. So when we go down the level of parallel universes, the authenticity loses, and become less real. When we go up to the higher order of levels of universe, it becomes more real, more authentic, also more wise, more beautiful, more love. So attendance, on the other hand, allow one to regain the power inhibited by layer upon layer of hindrance. The self thus is able to regain one's innate potential and play a range of roles, such as the game player, software configurator, programmer, game developer, divine intelligence developer, and ultimately meta-consciousness. Having constructed the PCM, we can now make sense of psi phenomena, including extrasensor perception, psychokinesis, and reported survival beyond the bodily death. Let's look at first the survival beyond bodily death. According to PCM, a person exists as a superposition of their physical body and many levels of non-physical bodies in nesting parallel universes, like a set of nesting dolls sharing the same subjectivity. The subjectivity, which is I-ness, does not depend on any particular body in the nesting dolls. The end of one body does not lead to the end of subjectivity. Death is therefore not the end of individual consciousness, but merely the loss of lower-level avatar. Reports of NDA, for example, often include features such as expanded awareness, altered time perception, and encounter with structured but non-physical environment. Features that are consistent with the idea of access to the different level rendering. PCM posits that the clock speed of the Platonic computer decreases exponentially when moving up the level of parallel universes. This implies the lifespan of a higher self is exponentially longer compared with the lower level self. The higher self thus survives after the end of the lower self. Let's now look at ESP. In a video game, a human player can have access to the material computer. The very engine renders the game world. The player can see the part of the game world, read character data, and even examine future game states if the simulation is deterministic. In reality, a psi practitioner's high self has analogous access to the Platonic computer's universal database, sometimes also referred to in the mystical tradition as the Akashic record. This enables information retrieval about any aspects of the physical, remote viewing, precognition, and mind reading are thus explained. In this view, ESP does not require signal to travel across space in the conventional sense. Rather, it involves access to information that has already been available in the Platonic computer database. The distinction is subtle but important. Instead of information being transmitted, it is accessed. What about psychokinesis, mind over matter? With PCM, PK can be interpreted as the modulation of parameters that govern the Platonic program. If physical reality is understood as output of Platonic computation, then in principle, changes of the parameter of a Platonic computer could influence the rendered outcome. So if the higher self become active and play the role of software configurators, the parameters of the physical engine can be locally, temporarily altered, and this will lead to the PK. For example, by turning gravity off, we can simulate levitation. By switching rigidity off, we can demonstrate a solid object going through solid barrier. By switching visibility on-off, physical object can appear and disappear. Therefore, lower order nested parallel universe can be manipulated by beings at the level above, interacting with the rendering engine. In reality, you don't have to code anything. All you need to do is to just give intention. The intention is a form of prompt. In a higher order parallel universes, the intention is enough to act as a prompt. So for example, With AI such as Google Gemini 3, virtual reality can be rendered by just giving rendering engine prompts. And the reality is manifested. As long as you have access to the computer, you have access to the rendering engine, and you have interaction with the rendering engine. And then all you need to do is to give it a prompt. From those simulations, we can see that PCM provides a way of understanding how information access, mind-matter interaction, and the persistence of consciousness might arise without requiring ad hoc explanation for each case. And importantly, the mechanisms for render the real world side can be simulated using physical rendering engine. It is worth noting that models are not reality. All those models are tools we can deploy to approach unknown. The more tools we have, the more insightful and effectively we can become. Having said that, each era has its own mainstream theories and models. In mechanical era, we have Newton's mechanics. We model the macro universe as a clock-like machine. When the human society was electrified, we had the concept electricity, so we modeled the micro universe as charged particles. So particle physics was has been the mainstream science. Now we are in the information age, AI age. We need to have new models. We will have new models. Indeed, the computational universe hypothesis is taken increasingly seriously by many prominent philosophers, physicists, cosmologists, biologists, and technology leaders. I think the time has come for a new model of the cosmos. We'll be able to accommodate psi. And you will be intrigued to hear this idea will be discussed further at this event by my teacher, like Tom, also my fellow explorer and friend, Rhys Burke. Let me summarize. There are a wide range of applications in healing, resource exploration, natural disaster forecast, agriculture, and education. The Platonic computation model provides a unifying framework for making sense of a full range of psi phenomena. By hypothesizing a hierarchical computational structure of reality, we are building a post-materialist scientific paradigm for understanding the cosmos and ourselves. Thank you for your attention.